I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be speaking with Recovery Ryder. Her book, Letters from a Trauma rather, Survivor, I think is so vital for so many people that in this audience, so many people have reached out to me. I've seen it all over the place, keeping secrets inside and what it does to people and how they're victimized by this. And this book, I think, is so significant and has in a way answers to, I believe, what a lot of people are struggling with. So, Recovery, welcome to Author's Corner here on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney. And what was it that made you write this book? What was the motivation?
Hey, Kate. Yes. Thank you for having me. The motivation was really to search for healing for myself and to be a voice for those who may not have a voice in the midst of trauma.
Yeah, and so for you, how hard was it to find that voice? I mean, what were the things that you were carrying around that were just weighing you down?
A lifelong history of trauma. It took many years of therapy and a lot of studies on boundaries and things to be able to have the courage to even articulate some of the trauma I've lived through, like sexual abuse, physical abuse. I've had someone try to murder me, just some like gaslighting from family members and things. It's an overwhelming amount of trauma and trauma styles that I've lived through. And I used artwork to illustrate through like a tornado, which is also in my book about kind of drawing it out through a tornado, a lot of the traumas that I've been through, just to help express and get it out.
Wow. And I'm sitting here thinking, even just one of the things that you mentioned happening to somebody is traumatic, but to have all of that, from even the gaslighting, the sexual abuse, and all the other things that happen, as you said, therapy. How did you know when you started to feel like you were coming out maybe on the other side?
It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But it takes time, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes the amount of time it takes, but I just kept with it, and I have and feel more freedom from it. I just have been able to let go of some of it. Some of it still kind of lingers around a little bit, but I have so much more freedom from it, and I'm very thankful for that. But it takes a lot of different things and avenues, like such as like not just therapy, but proper nutrition, good sleep hygiene, good boundaries. I have dogs that are great support to me. So like a huge variety of just things that I do to try to apply to help with my recovery and what I've lived through.
And what would you tell somebody that's listening right now that's struggling with this? I would say, one, get your book, which you can get on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, because then you know what it's like and what somebody else has gone through. But the nutrition, wow, that's so huge, right? And the sleep, because you're troubled and you can't sleep, and the boundaries. And boundaries are probably hard to set when you've been traumatized. Am I correct?
They are. They're hard. I mean, I never learned boundaries growing up. I had to learn boundaries in adulthood. And just like learning what they are and like kind of the definition of it and how to apply them and then try to apply them in life. It is challenging, but very worth the studying and the applying them, just not only to other people, but also just for myself, not, having boundaries with myself, I've, struggled with emotional eating, and trying to comfort myself with food. And so I've had to learn not to do that because it just negatively impacts me too much. So where at one point in my life, I was 100 pounds overweight, and I've had to like work hard to lose that weight. I got other physical health problems because of that. So I had to learn how to set boundaries with myself too, and not spend money that's not within my budget. but also I had to cut toxic people out of my life, and have appropriate boundaries with them, and know that the word no is okay to use. Even it's a complete sentence by itself. You don't have to explain it. I can say no to even good things, because sometimes there's a lot of good things, so we can't do everything. So it's okay to say no.
So it's interesting too, and I know this would resonate with people listening. And again, the book is Letters from a Trauma Survivor. We're speaking with Recovery Ryder, and you talk about the boundary. You talk about the no. You talk about toxic people, and who among us doesn't have toxic people around them? And what does that do to you? It just keeps pulling at you, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It really. Before I cut some of the toxic people out of my life, which includes people in my family, I kept just drowning in hurt, and could never get beyond things. And I finally learned that even though it felt like I wasn't loving them, I still could love them, but not have them in my life. It really was heartbreaking to come to that, but there's so much more freedom now, where they chose not to make any changes for the better and for good health, in relationship wise anyway. And until they make those choices, they're going to stay out of my life if they ever make the choices. They have, I had to even not tell them where I live, or have my phone number. I basically left it at, they could have my email address, which a few family members had to get blocked because they broke the boundaries. But I gave them the choices and the options, and chances. But there's the point where I had to just cut ties because it was so unhealthy for me.
Yeah. And it's interesting when people look at your book and they read your book, we're not going to tell them everything, but what will they learn? What will they find out about as they progress through the book?
Even though there's a lot of trauma, and a lot of hard things that I've said just about that's happened to me, there is hope. There are some very positive people that have done some great things in my life, and I'm very thankful for that. So it's hard. I hope it's relatable to people, and I really hope, for everyone's sake, that y'all haven't had to live through what I have. And if you have, there is hope. Don't give up hope. I've been there where I felt completely hopeless. But there is hope. So they're through a lot of different avenues. So don't give up hope.
Wow, I like that hashtag, don't give up hope. I love that you mentioned the dogs too, because dogs are therapeutic, aren't they?
They are, for sure. And I have an English lab. Her name's Daisy, and she is in the book. She is going to boarding school in August to be trained as a service dog for me. So I'm just thankful for that opportunity. And that is a huge support for people with PTSD to have service dogs. So I'm very blessed.
Yeah. So that's one way that you continue to take care of yourself. And you talked about the nutrition and how important that was. And you also mentioned therapy. Was it tough to make that leap to go to therapy? And then what was that like? Because you have to unpack everything.
It is hard. It is hard to talk to therapists, and it's hard to even just articulate sometimes some of the things that I've lived through. But it is worth it, especially if you find a great therapist that you have a good rapport with. Sometimes it takes more than one try, and that's okay. You may not always make that connection on the first try. But you can, there's so many different types and styles of therapists out there that are very well equipped and trained. So don't give up, even if the first one doesn't work out. There's other options out there. And once you find that good therapist that really is very good at their job, very good at listening, very good at helping you dig through some of the trauma and stuff, and very good at helping just teach, about boundaries or regulating emotions or what even emotions are. things that I had to learn, like in adulthood, it's really worth it. It's hard sometimes. Like I had to get a little bit worse to get better, basically, because I have to feel those emotions. I had to feel and talk about the hard stuff, and it kind of it made me a little bit worse, but in the end it made me better. So it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
it's a hard process, but worth it.
Yeah, worse to get better. Okay, Letters from a Trauma Survivor, Recovery Ryder. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, as we keep mentioning. And before we go, tell us your website.
Yes, my real name is Jo Smoak. So my website is www.jo, that's J-O, Smoak, SMOAK.com. And you can find Letters from a Trauma Survivor. It links you to Amazon directly. And I have another book called Boundaries by Millie. It's a children's book that teaches children about boundaries through the life of a donkey, that's recently come out also. So I was inspired to write that book just because I never got to learn boundaries as a kid, and I hope it helps other kids too. So I have that on there too.
Excellent. Jo, thank you so much for coming on again. We appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Visit www.greatwritersmedia.com. Email us at info@greatwritersmedia.com. Call us at 877-600-5469. Subscribe now.